All right, guys, this is chapter 1. We're going to be going over the philosophical schools of law from this chapter, something you're going to have to be fairly familiar with on your exam. There's 4 schools of law that we're going to talk about. The first one is natural law, okay? Now, the natural law theory, the natural law school, essentially argues that there are certain rights, there are certain values that we get as a result of being human, okay? Many people ascribe this to God, right, or some kind of deity, but it really doesn't matter. The idea is that as humans, we're entitled to certain natural laws, right? They just benefit us because of who we are. We look at the Declaration of Independence, right? It starts out, we hold these truths to be self-evident, right? Self-evident, all men are created equal. That's the Declaration of Independence. That's essentially based on natural law theory. Again, it could be religious in nature, but the idea is that law does not come from man, right? Now, we do have laws that come from man, but the idea is that some of these inalienable rights are ascribed to us by God, by the virtue of us being human. So that's really all the natural law theory is. Then we have a positivist approach, okay? Now, the positivist approach takes the exact opposite perspective. This says that, no, it has nothing to do with the fact that we're human, that God loves us, that we deserve these laws. The positivist theory simply just says law is nothing more than a social construct. Law is socially constructed. We create this, okay? The fact that law is enforced or applied is good enough for a law to be followed. We follow these laws simply because people make these laws. And if they're made in the proper context, right, if they're made by the proper legislative bodies, if they're made in the ways that we humans allow, then the laws are going to be totally justified. So nothing to do with upstairs, this is all downstairs. The traditional historical perspective, okay? This school of law essentially just says we have to be deferential to laws in the past, right? It's this whole kind of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we have a theory called, we have a principle called stare decisis. And stare decisis is just Latin for let the decision stand. The idea is that one court should not overturn another court's precedent if there's no reason to do so. So we're deferential to laws in the past, simply because they exist in the past. We have to look at the past and kind of the evolution of the law and the evolution of human behavior to determine what the laws today should be. So again, we're always looking to the past to determine what to do in the future. This would not be activism, okay? Activism would be the idea of, hey, let's go ahead and make these new laws, because they benefit us. We're not going to do that. We're going to stick around and look at historical precedent before we go ahead and change the law, all right? And the last one we're going to go over is legal realism, okay? Now, legal realism is a little different from all these because legal realism shows that there's not really a philosophy at all. Legal realism says that there's no dogma or overarching philosophy at all. All the law is just a byproduct of desired real-world outcomes, okay? So judges, politicians, all we do is we create the law as we want to create the law, okay? We have an end result that we want, so we go ahead and create the law that gives us that result. So the idea is that there's not this philosophy, we always follow this philosophy. The idea is that there's this we want certain things to happen, right? Take the civil rights movement, right? You look at a lot of, the advances that came in the 50s and 60s, a lot of them, according to legal realism, were simply that judges wanted us to create a system where people were equal, right? So they just started doing it. They didn't look at, these laws and say, this is a construct, this is a system that we use to decide. It's just simply that, we want the outcome, so that's all it is. So legal realism is just tied to public policy, all right? So those are the 4 laws, the 4 schools of thought that we're going to look at in this chapter.